In the far end of the galaxy, beyond stars that humans never saw, stood a massive golden structure called the Galactic Library. It was said to contain every piece of knowledge ever collected by alien civilizations, from the birth of the first star to the fall of empires. Inside those endless halls, countless scholars studied night and day, copying, translating, and preserving knowledge from thousands of worlds. Among them was a young researcher named Varen, a curious alien with silver eyes and hands that shimmered faintly under the library lights. He loved discovering old records, forgotten species, and lost histories. But one day, while working in the deep archives, he found a strange book, old and dusty. Its title glowed faintly in crimson letters, the Encyclopedia of Monsters. Varen smiled at first, thinking it was just another mythological record, a book of legends written by frightened civilizations. But when he opened it, the air around him seemed to grow colder. Each page showed sketches of creatures, fanged beasts, dark predators, and colossal horrors that defied imagination. Every one had a story beside it, tales of destruction, of death, of fear. But what caught his attention wasn't the drawings. It was the small line written below every one of them. Origin, Earth. He blinked, confused, and turned the page. Another monster, another line, again the same words, origin, Earth. Out of 50 entries, 49 mentioned that same planet. He whispered to himself, impossible. He searched through the archives, trying to recall the name. Earth, a dead world, a forgotten system long abandoned. It was said that its species destroyed themselves thousands of years ago. But why did this ancient book call them monsters? Why was almost the entire record about them? He looked closer at one of the illustrations. It wasn't a beast with claws or tentacles. It was a human, a simple figure, 2 arms, 2 legs, standing proudly under a red sun. The description below said, highly adaptive predator, capable of surviving any environment, feeds on knowledge, emotion, and willpower. Varen laughed nervously. This must be wrong. He turned another page, reading words that began to disturb him deeply. Humans fought their own planet and won. They conquered their fears and called it progress. They made fire their servant and death their tool. The pages described creatures that hunted without claws, killed without venom, and survived every disaster that should have ended them. And the more he read, the more terrified he became. These weren't monsters, they were people. He looked around to make sure no one was watching and whispered, "Who wrote this?" At the back of the book was a symbol, a faded crest of the Galactic Council. That meant the information was official, verified. Someone had studied Earth closely. Someone had seen humanity with their own eyes. Varen's curiosity grew into obsession. He wanted to know the truth. He began searching the restricted files of the library, pulling old maps and mission reports. He found one document labeled the Terran Expedition. It was marked classified, but he opened it anyway. The report spoke of explorers sent to Earth thousands of years ago. Their message said, "The planet breathes hostility. The ground itself seems alive. Every creature fights for survival. The atmosphere burns our lungs, yet its native species, humans, thrive in every corner." He leaned back, his silver eyes wide with disbelief. How could fragile beings like humans live on a world that powerful armies could not survive? He turned back to the red book, reading the next entry. It described humans surviving radiation, building cities after world-ending wars, even reaching the stars again after destroying themselves. They never stopped, never gave up, never surrendered. Varen's hands trembled as he closed the book. He felt something in his chest, a strange mix of fear and respect. He whispered, "Maybe monsters are not born. Maybe they are made by pain." As the lights of the library dimmed, Varen placed the book on his desk, staring at the last page. It had one chilling line written in dark ink. "The galaxy fears monsters, but monsters fear humans." For the first time in his life, Varen understood that knowledge itself could be terrifying. He stood there silently, as if the shadows of ancient humans were watching him from the stars. And somewhere deep in the dark archives, the red book pulsed faintly, as if waiting for the next reader to open its pages again. Days passed, but Varen could not forget the red book. Every time he tried to work on other research, his mind returned to those pages, to that single word, Earth. It echoed in his thoughts like a ghost, whispering questions that had no answers. So one night, when the library halls were empty and silent, he broke the first rule of the Galactic Archive. He opened the restricted chamber. Inside, the air was cold and thick with dust. Blue lights flickered as he moved through rows of ancient files. There, hidden in the corner, he found a metal box covered with warning signs. The label read, "Project Terran Expedition, do not access." His fingers trembled as he unlocked it. A dozen old data crystals lay inside, each marked with the same date. Varen placed one into the reader, and the hologram came alive. Fuzzy at first, then clear. He saw alien explorers, tall, armored, with breathing masks, standing on a wild green world. The wind roared, lightning cracked across the black sky, and the ground shook beneath their boots. The voice of the commander echoed through the recording. Log Entry 1. Arrival on planet designation. Earth, atmosphere unstable, terrain hostile, yet signs of complex life everywhere. Varen leaned closer, his eyes wide. The explorers described the planet as a nightmare. Storms that could crush their ships, oceans that swallowed metal, animals that hunted in packs with eyes full of hunger. But what shocked him most was not the danger. It was the tone in their voices. It was fear. He watched as one of them screamed when a swarm of small insects crawled over his armor, their bites burning through metal. Another recording showed trees moving like living things, roots tearing through stone. But then, on the fourth log, something changed. The voice said softly, "We found intelligent life." The screen flickered, and for the first time, Varen saw them. Humans. They were thinner, smaller than expected, wearing rough clothes made of hide and cloth. Their faces were covered with dirt, yet their eyes burned with light. The aliens approached carefully, weapons raised, but the humans didn't attack. Instead, they offered water. One of the explorers said in disbelief, "They know we are not from here, but they smile." The recordings grew stranger. Humans helped them repair their damaged ship, taught them how to make fire without tools, shared food that smelled sweet and smoky. Varen's heart ached as he listened. He whispered, "They were kind." But then the tone of the next file turned dark. Weeks later, communication from the expedition stopped. The final log began with static, then screaming. Explosions flashed in the background, smoke filled the image. The commander's voice shouted, "They are not what they seem. They adapt. They fight like nothing we've seen before. This world, this species." The recording ended there. Varen froze, staring at the empty screen. He replayed it again and again, trying to understand what had happened. The humans who were kind had turned into warriors overnight, defending their home with primitive weapons and unstoppable fury. And yet, no evidence showed them attacking first. It was survival, pure and simple. He found one last log, hidden deep inside the box. It was marked confidential, commander's final note. The hologram showed a wounded alien lying on burned soil. His voice was weak. "If anyone finds this, know this. They are not monsters. They are what we could never become. They adapt faster than fear itself. If they ever reach the stars, the galaxy will never be the same." The recording ended, leaving only silence. Varen sat still, feeling the weight of the words. The book had not lied. Earth was not a world of monsters. It was a world that created survivors. And humans were its most perfect creation. He closed the crystal box and whispered, "The galaxy feared beasts, but the beasts learned fear from them." As he left the restricted chamber, he looked once more at the red book on his desk. It seemed to pulse softly, like a heart still beating. Outside, the night stars burned bright. And somewhere out there, perhaps humans were still watching, waiting, learning. Varen could not sleep for many cycles. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those ancient recordings, the faces of humans staring into the storm, the kindness in their eyes, and the fire that followed when they were pushed. He felt something he could not describe, fear mixed with admiration. So he did what no scholar was supposed to do. He began his own research on humanity. He searched through forgotten channels, pirate archives, and broken networks that the Galactic Council had long abandoned. He traded credits for old data and spent long nights decoding fragments of human speech. Most of the files were damaged, but a few remained clear. And what they showed was not what the galaxy had believed. The humans were not beasts waiting to destroy. They were explorers, dreamers, and builders. Their cities reached the clouds, their machines touched the stars, and their music echoed through space. But when the universe turned against them, when wars and disasters came, they fought back, not out of hatred, but out of love for survival. They didn't conquer worlds because they wanted power. They did it because they refused to die. Varen found one video recorded by an alien survivor of the Terran expedition. The alien's voice was shaking. They found me in the ruins. I thought they would end me, but they gave me water and food. They carried me when I could not walk. I called them monsters, but they called me friend. Those words echoed in Varen's mind. He replayed them again and again until he could almost hear the human voices in the background, soft and tired, yet full of compassion. For the first time, Varen wondered if the word monster had been misunderstood. Maybe monsters were not defined by how much they could destroy. Maybe they were defined by how much they could endure. He began writing notes, collecting quotes, piecing together a story that no one in the galaxy wanted to hear. Humans were not the galaxy's nightmare. They were its mirror. But as he dug deeper, strange things began to happen. Files vanished from his data pad. Access codes stopped working. Someone had noticed his research. One night, as he returned to his study room, he found the red book missing from his desk. In its place lay a single note written in ancient Terran text. He translated it slowly, his hands shaking. "You look for us in pages, but we were never gone." His heart raced. It couldn't be true. Humans had vanished thousands of years ago, or so the records said. Yet something inside him whispered otherwise. He searched the star maps again and found an uncharted system, one where signals had been detected but always ignored. The coordinates matched the last transmission from the Terran expedition. He knew what he had to do. Before leaving, he stood before the great glass window of the library, looking at the galaxy's swirling lights. He whispered softly, "If they are out there, they deserve to be known, not feared." He left behind everything, his position, his reputation, even his safety, because some truths were worth the risk. When his ship entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into rivers of light. Varen sat quietly, listening to the faint hum of the engines. In his hand, he held the recovered page from the red book, the one that described humanity in a single chilling sentence. "They are the only species that wept while they fought." He closed his eyes and said, "If monsters can cry, maybe they are not monsters at all." Outside the ship's window, the void shimmered like liquid glass. Somewhere, far ahead, waited the forgotten home of legends. And as the engines roared, Varen whispered, "I am coming, Earth." Varen's small ship drifted through deep space, cutting through the darkness like a single spark in an endless ocean. Weeks had passed since he left the Galactic Library, and the silence of the void pressed heavy on his mind. He spent his days reviewing the ancient files again and again, piecing together what the Council had tried to erase. Every clue, every image, led to the same truth. Humanity had not vanished. They had simply been forgotten. When he returned, the entire library was already waiting. News of his disappearance and secret research had spread through the higher orders. The Council summoned him immediately. Inside the towering chamber, 12 alien elders sat in a circle, their faces hidden by golden masks. The air was tense, filled with quiet judgment. "Scholar Varen," one elder said in a cold voice, "you have broken the highest rule. You entered restricted archives. You accessed forbidden data. Explain yourself." Varen's voice trembled at first, but then it grew firm. "I found the truth about Earth and the Terran expedition," he said. "Our records were wrong. The humans were not monsters, they were survivors." Murmurs spread across the hall. Some laughed softly, others hissed. "Humans are myths," one counselor snapped. "A ghost story told to frighten children." But Varen raised his hand and activated the hologram. The chamber filled with light, and suddenly the air was filled with voices, real voices, recorded long ago. The hologram showed humans carrying wounded aliens through smoke and ash, their faces scarred but calm. Their leader said softly, "We are not your enemy. We are what your fear looks like when it learns to protect." The entire room fell silent. Even the elders leaned forward, their golden masks reflecting the light of the hologram. Varen's voice grew stronger. "You feared them because you did not understand them," he said. "You erased them because you were afraid of what they represented, not destruction, but persistence. The youngest elder stood, his voice sharp. And what do you want us to believe, scholar? That these humans still exist? Varen hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes, he whispered. I believe they are not gone. The council erupted in disbelief, some shouting, others demanding proof. One elder slammed his staff against the floor, silencing them all. Then show us your evidence, he said. Varen took a deep breath and opened one final file, a recording that had never been viewed publicly. It flickered, the signal broken by static, then cleared. A single figure appeared on the screen, a human astronaut floating in the darkness of space, surrounded by wreckage. Her voice was faint but steady. To whoever finds this, we are not extinct. We are scattered, but we endure, always. The council chamber went dead quiet. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Varen looked around, watching the shock ripple across the elders' faces. One of them whispered, "This is impossible." But the truth hung in front of them like a flame no one could put out. An elder finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Erase this, seal it, no one must know." Varen stepped forward, anger burning in his chest. "You can erase history, but you cannot erase existence," he said. "The humans lived. They suffered. They helped even when you feared them. They deserve to be remembered." The guards moved closer, but no one dared touch him. The oldest elder's voice echoed softly. "Scholar Varen, you are dismissed, your access is revoked, and this hearing never happened." They turned off the hologram, plunging the hall back into darkness. But as Varen walked away, he caught a glimpse of something, one elder's hand trembling slightly. It wasn't fear anymore. It was respect. Outside the council chamber, he looked up at the stars through the glass dome. He whispered quietly, "They tried to bury your name, but your story still burns." Far away, beyond the edge of known space, one of the stars flickered for a moment. Varen smiled faintly. Somewhere out there, humanity was still alive, still watching, still surviving. And soon, the galaxy would remember them. Varen was now a fugitive. The Galactic Council had marked him as a traitor to knowledge, accusing him of spreading false myths. But he didn't care, because the voice from the recording still echoed in his mind. "We are not extinct. We are scattered, but we endure." He knew she was real, and he was going to find her. He stole a small exploration ship and vanished into deep space. His only guide was the ancient coordinate data from the Terran expedition. The journey was long, through forgotten systems and dead stars. At times, his ship nearly failed, and the silence of the void pressed on him like a weight. But every time he thought of turning back, he would replay the human voice. It gave him strength. It made him believe. After weeks of searching, he found it. A small, dying planet orbiting a cold sun. No name, no signal, nothing but silence. Yet something in his heart told him this was the place. He landed carefully, his ship sinking into layers of ash and dust. The sky was pale orange, the wind heavy with memories of fire. Ruins stretched as far as he could see, metal skeletons of cities that once reached the clouds. But among the ruins, there was a faint blue light. He followed it, step by step, until he reached a massive underground vault. Inside, the air was cold and still. Frozen stasis pods lined the walls, all empty, except one. In the center of the chamber, a single pod still hummed with power. The name engraved on it read, Captain Mara Ellis. Varen's breath caught. His hands shook as he touched the glass. Inside lay a woman. A human, her face calm, her chest rising faintly with each slow breath. She was alive. He activated the revival sequence, and the pod hissed softly, releasing mist that glowed like starlight. Minutes passed before her eyes opened, bright, piercing, and full of confusion. Varen stepped back, unsure what to say. The woman looked around, her voice rough and tired. "Who are you?" she whispered. He swallowed hard. "I'm Varen, from the Galactic Library. I found your message." She blinked slowly, studying his alien face, then smiled weakly. "So, someone finally came," she said. Her body was weak, but her mind sharp. Varen helped her sit, offering water from his supply. She drank slowly, then looked toward the ceiling as if seeing her world again through the dust. "Earth is gone, isn't it?" she asked. Varen nodded sadly. "It's gone, but you're not." She gave a small laugh, bitter and soft. Then humanity isn't finished yet, she said. As they talked, she told him stories of the final days. How humans fought against plagues, wars, and hunger until there was nothing left to fight for. When their world began to die, some chose to sleep, hoping one day the stars would call them again. Her voice trembled. We never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to survive long enough to see it. Varen listened in silence, his heart heavy with respect. He showed her the red book, the Encyclopedia of Monsters. She laughed when she saw it, her eyes wet with tears. Monsters, she said softly. Is that what they called us? Varen nodded slowly. Yes, but I've seen the truth. You are not monsters, you are hope. For a long moment, she said nothing, then whispered. Hope can be dangerous too. They spent hours walking through the ruins. Mara showed him what was left. A broken flag, a half-buried city, a message carved into stone. It read, "We endured." Under the dying sun, Varen felt something stir in his chest, a strange warmth he had never known before. Mara looked at him and said quietly, "If you go back, tell them we were never perfect, but we never stopped trying." That night, as she slept under the faint light of his ship, Varen wrote the first new chapter in the Red Book. Its title glowed softly. Humans, the last flame of a dead world. He smiled. The galaxy had forgotten them, but not anymore. Because now, their story had found a voice again. The days passed slowly on the dying world. Varen repaired his ship while Captain Mara explored the ruins she once called home. The two spoke often, sitting beside the broken towers that once touched the sky. Every story she told felt like a piece of history being reborn. To Varen, she was not just a survivor. She was the living heartbeat of a species the galaxy had forgotten. Mara would look at the horizon each day, her eyes reflecting the pale light of the faded sun. When I was a child, she said softly, we believed we were unstoppable. We reached the stars, we built wonders, and we thought nothing could destroy us. She paused, the wind whispering through the ruins. But the truth is, we destroyed ourselves long before the universe tried to. Varen listened carefully, his silver eyes filled with sadness. He wanted to argue, to tell her that humanity had been great, but her words carried the weight of truth. She smiled faintly, sensing his thoughts. Don't look at us like heroes, she said. We made mistakes, terrible ones, but what made us human wasn't perfection, it was persistence. She led him into an underground hall filled with holographic archives, still flickering weakly. With trembling hands, she activated one. The images came alive, humans laughing, crying, building, singing. Varen watched in silence as wars raged and families reunited, as love and loss intertwined through generations. This, she said, is what it means to be human. We could love fiercely and still fight. We could destroy, but also create beauty from the ashes. Varen felt a strange ache in his chest. He had studied thousands of civilizations, but none had such contradiction, such depth. You were chaos and harmony together, he whispered. Mara nodded. That's why they feared us. We were unpredictable. We didn't follow logic. We followed heart. For several days, they repaired the old communication tower. Mara said she wanted to send one final message to the stars, not a cry for help, but a memory. When the system came online, she stood before it and spoke gently into the recorder. This is Captain Mara Ellis of Earth. To whoever still listens among the stars, we were not monsters. We were dreamers. We failed many times, but every failure taught us to rise again. And if one day someone finds this message, tell them, humanity tried. Varen's throat tightened. Her words carried both sorrow and pride. As the message transmitted into the endless dark, Mara sat down, breathing slowly. I think that's enough, she said softly. I kept the flame alive long enough for someone else to see it. That night, under the cold alien sky, she grew weaker. Varen stayed beside her, his hand resting gently near hers. She looked at him with tired eyes and whispered, You came searching for monsters, didn't you? He nodded slowly, unable to speak. She smiled faintly. And what did you find? Varen whispered. I found the most human thing of all, kindness. Her smile deepened, and she closed her eyes. The air grew still, the stars shimmered above, and for a moment, it felt as if the entire galaxy bowed in silence. Varen sat quietly, staring at her peaceful face. He had seen death before, but this one felt different. It wasn't an ending, it was a promise. The next morning, he buried her beneath the ruins of an ancient tree that had somehow survived the centuries. He placed the red book beside her grave. On its last page, he wrote a single line in glowing ink. They were monsters only because they survived where others could not. As he walked back to his ship, the horizon burned with the soft light of dawn. Varen looked once more at the world that birthed humanity and whispered, "You were never monsters. You were the galaxy's lesson." He turned toward the stars, his heart heavy yet alive with purpose. Because now, he carried not just the truth of humanity, but their spirit, the unbroken flame that would never die. Varen's ship rose slowly from the ashes of the ruined world. Beneath him, the grave of Captain Mara Ellis shimmered faintly in the red dust. The ancient tree swayed in the weak wind, as if saluting him goodbye. He watched it until it disappeared into the clouds. For a long time, he said nothing, only listened to the soft hum of the engines and the echo of her last words. Tell them humanity tried. He carried with him the red book, now rewritten with truth. It was no longer a book of monsters. It was a testament of endurance, courage, and hope. Each page glowed faintly, filled with new words, stories of love and sacrifice, of pain turned into strength. Varen knew what he had to do. He would take it back to the Galactic Library, even if the Council tried to stop him. When his ship entered the Central System, every beacon lit up in alarm. The Council sent messages demanding his surrender, but he ignored them. He broadcasted a signal across the entire network, and every screen, every hologram, across thousands of worlds flickered with light. Then the message appeared. It was not Varen's voice that spoke. It was Mara's. Her recorded words echoed through the galaxy. "We were not monsters, we were dreamers, and we tried." For a moment, everything stopped. Factories went silent, ships paused mid-flight, and billions of beings turned to listen. Across the galaxy, the forgotten name of humans returned. Children asked their elders who these beings were, and the elders, ashamed, curious, afraid, could only whisper, they were from Earth. The Council called for Varen's arrest. But when the guards arrived at the library, they found crowds waiting outside. Scholars, explorers, and even soldiers stood together, demanding the book be kept. They had heard the voice. They had felt something inside them awaken. Something ancient, something human. Varen stepped forward, holding the red book high. "You called them monsters," he said. "But they were what we wish to become. They were the mirror that shows us what survival truly means." The head elder approached, his mask trembling in his hands. He looked at Varen and whispered, "And what if they return?" Varen smiled faintly. "Then we should hope they find us worthy." The Council said nothing more. Slowly, they opened the gates of the library, and for the first time in history, the Encyclopedia of Monsters was placed in the Hall of Origins. Children and scholars from across the stars came to see it. They would stop at the section marked Earth. There they found stories of courage, art, madness, and mercy. Under each tale, one sentence burned softly in golden letters. Humanity, the kindest monsters of them all. Years passed, and the story spread far beyond the library. Pilots painted human symbols on their ships for luck. Explorers named new worlds after human legends. Terra Nova, Ellis Reach, Hope's Rest. And in quiet corners of the galaxy, old songs returned. Melodies that no alien had ever written, yet somehow everyone knew. Varen grew older, his silver eyes dimmer, but his spirit never faded. Sometimes, he would sit under the great dome of stars and whisper to himself, "Somewhere, among those lights, maybe they still watch us." The night would answer with silence, yet deep inside, he felt warmth, because he knew that humanity had not died. They had simply become a story, one strong enough to outlive every empire. And so, when young scholars entered the library and asked, "Who were the humans?" the elders would smile and point to the red book. They were the first to teach the galaxy what fear means, they would say, and the last to teach it what hope feels like. Outside, the stars burned brighter than ever. As if somewhere far away, the lost children of Earth had heard their names spoken again. And for one brief moment, across all the endless night, the galaxy felt a heartbeat. The heartbeat of humanity, still alive among the stars.